What's going on, people in YouTube land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's video. And for today's video, I wanted to review the brand spanking new Alice Cooper record, Paranormal. This is the first Alice Cooper record to come out since 2011, and before that he was on a streak of putting out a new album basically every 2 years or so, and most of those were very strong. The Eyes of Alice Cooper, Brutal Planet, Dragontown, all those records were really great. But the last one he did put out before this, I didn't think was the best Alice Cooper record, in all honesty. I felt it was a bit weak, it was inconsistent, and it was basically just a weak follow-up to what many consider either his greatest record as a solo artist, or at least one of the greatest as a solo artist, if not one of the greatest, including the band records even. So with that being said, I really hoped that wasn't going to end up being the last Alice Cooper record, since he had been on such a streak for a while, putting out records consistently, and then he just stopped and continued to tour. I felt, maybe we're not getting any more Alice Cooper music. But then the Hollywood Vampires project came along, they put out a record as well, and at one point Alice started talking about putting a new record out. He even started talking about doing a covers record at one point, as well as one with new material, which is what we got here, and all kinds of things. So I knew that on the horizon, hopefully there would be new material from one of my favorite artists of all time, and that's what we got here in 2017's Paranormal. Now, I know that Alice Cooper's put out 8,000 records and he's toured for 10,000 years straight, and he doesn't stop and just keeps getting better with age, but even outside of all of that, every new Alice Cooper record is reason for celebration, because there's never been one that's been straight up bad, if you ask me. Some have been stronger than others, but they've all had good tracks. One thing that's interesting about this one too is that the last couple studio tracks were written and recorded with his original backing band, or at least all of the living members. So you have the reunion of the original Alice Cooper band, you have new material from Alice himself, and this thing does finish out with some live tracks. As a result, this is a great package, and I'm going to do this track by track. I haven't done a track by track review before, but this one, I really like this record. Spoiler alert there, you're not going to hear many negatives about it, but I want to talk about each track individually because I think they're all really good. So let's just dive right into it. And the record opens with the title track, Paranormal, and this is a great way to start the record. It starts out slow and creepy and very much classic Alice, and it builds into a crescendo of being a little bit heavier, a little bit more rockin', and it's just a great way to start the record. It's classic Alice from the very beginning, and that's what we want from Alice Cooper in 2017. And right after the first track, we go straight into a no-frills rock and roll song, Dead Flies, which is a very signature style Alice Cooper song. He jokes about cannibalism and having to watch yourself, and it's of course very typical Alice in that regard as far as the lyrics go. It has a great chorus, and the only problem with this track is it's a little too short. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds. I could have taken this for a little bit longer. It's such a good song. It ends a little bit early, but what a great second track. The third track on this record is called Fireball, and if you ask me, unfortunately it is the weakest track on the record. There's this kind of weird vocal effect. I don't really know how to explain it. Just kind of makes him sound distant in the mix. It seems like it's just a little too much effects on his vocals there, and you don't really need them because his vocals are strong on this record. It's pretty much a straightforward rock and roll song as well, but it's just a little bit weaker. I don't think it's quite as good as the others, but it's not a bad song, just doesn't really, tickle my fancy, so to speak. But the record quickly recovers right after that. The fourth track is called Paranoid Personality, and that is the first single off the record as well. So if you've heard anything off of this record so far, that's probably the song, and what a great song to release as a single. This is classic Alice Cooper in every way, shape, and form. The lyrics are about being paranoid and having stabs at social media and, just conspiracies and things like that, which is a very classic Alice Cooper thing to write about, basically. The chorus is super catchy, the musicianship is amazing. This is just a killer track all around. And right after that, we go into the fifth track, Fall in Love, which is not what it would probably sound like if a lot of bands had a song that was called the same thing, because this is Alice Cooper, and it's just a straightforward rock and roll song. I know that it sounds like I'm saying that on a lot of these, but that's what this record is. It's a great rock and roll record. This song features Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and as a result it has a lot of that kind of Texas shuffle, almost rockabilly to the sound. The guitar solo, of course, is amazing since Billy is on it there, and this is definitely one of the highlights of the record if you ask me. This is a great song to check out if you're just trying to get a couple of the songs and see what they sound like, to kind of see if this record is for you overall. Dynamite Road is the next track, and it has almost a similar kind of feel, almost like a shuffle or big band sound, if you will, very Texas sounding almost even, and it's a song about, driving, of course. It's Alice, and even though I don't completely get the story yet, I might need to kind kind of investigate the lyrics a little bit more. It definitely involves death and him just being sad that his car had to go even though the band died as well, which is typical Alice, you know, dark humor, and another great track on a solid record. Track 7 is called Private Public Breakdown, and if you ask me, is another one of the huge highlights of this record. It's so catchy, it's so recognizable the first time you hear it, and lyrically it's just classic Alice as well. I mean, he's talking about having a breakdown and not being able to continue on, and that the Secret Service is after him and all this stuff. Great song. You gotta check this one out. This is another one similar to Fall in Love. If you're just trying to look for, you know, a couple tracks to check out on this record, this one is one I highly recommend. And the next track here, track number 8, is called Holy Water. And this one's awesome. It introduces some horns and kind of more of a big band sound, kind of, you know, harkening back to songs like Some Folks, even though it's a little more straightforward rock driven than that. And what a killer song. What a killer song. These horns really do add some diversity to this track, and sounding not too similar to some of the other ones. It's a great to have diversity like that a little bit later in the record, keeping things fresh and keeping the listener, you know, interested in what's going on, so they don't just press that next button, which is so easy to do in 2017. So many people are not album focused, but Alice is still very album focused, and that's why these tracks continue to be good throughout this whole record. There's not a bad one here. So this one's a great track as well. And that brings us to track number 9, Rats, which is another straightforward rock and roll song. There's so much energy on this one. This one's just brimming with energy. And track 10 is called The Sound of A, which is a great way to finish the first part of this record, because there's bonus material we'll get to here in a second. But it's kind of a slow, brooding song that kind of takes you back to where the record started, on that kind of slow, creepy side of Alice. And it's a great track that just sounds classic and really just finishes up the record nicely, if this was the end of the record, because there's some great bonus material that we're just about to get into here. So if you get this record on CD, it's divided into 2 CDs. And if you're listening on Spotify, there's no pause, and this is just track 11. But basically, the first 10 tracks of this record are the current Alice Cooper band, you know, recording music with Alice, and, you know, that's that. But the next 2 studio tracks were written and recorded with all of the original living members of the Alice Cooper band. So they have an even more classic style. Everything about this record is just Alice trying to get back to his roots. And these last 2 tracks, or at least last 2 studio tracks, really represent that more than anything on here, because he really made a point to get with the original members, and these tracks are awesome. The first one, track 11 overall, or track 1 if you know, had it on CD, is called Genuine American Girl. And I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to give away the spoilers, but this is not the type of song you would expect from that subject line. No, it's not Alice pining over a girl or anything like that, but this is such a great song, and it has that patent Alice humor. It has some almost like doo-wop backing vocals. It's catchy as anything, and if you ask me, this might be the best song on the entire record. Having the original band on it definitely aids in it. It doesn't break the flow of the first 10 tracks. If you didn't know this was a different band, honestly, you might not even notice the difference, but it's an amazing song. It kind of reminds me almost of songs like Escape or Department of Youth, ones that had, you know, a bit of humor but were very rockin', and what a great song. Just go listen to it. You know, after you finish watching this video and giving it a thumbs up and everything, drop everything, go check out this song. This is the best song on the record if you ask me. Such a good song. Gotta check it out. And the next track, the last track of the studio portion of this, is called You and All Your Friends, and it's another track with the original band members, and it's a really fitting into the record. It just kind of ties everything up as a straightforward rock song. It has lyrics about this being the end and everything. I don't know if he's necessarily referring to the end of the original band putting out music, or maybe just this record, or maybe even the end of Alice. He hasn't said this is going to be his last record, but he is getting up there in age, and if this was the last track we heard, it'd be a fitting end to a great record. It kind of just ties everything up, and it works out really well. And this record finishes up with some live tracks that, you know, they're cool, but they're not necessarily essential. They're just some of the hits. You have new live renditions of songs like Under My Wheels, I'm 18, No More Mr. Nice Guy, things like that. Some of the hits, they're cool to have, but they're not that different. They're played well. You know, his current band's really good, and you won't be mad that they're there, but the meat and potatoes of this record really are the first 12 tracks, and what a 12 tracks they are. This record is amazing. This is one of the best Alice Cooper records that he's put out in the last, you know, 15, 20 years, 30 years. I don't know. This one, if you ask me, is really on the same level as the 70s output, and I don't know. As I listen to it more, maybe I'll even start to like it more. Maybe the new will wear off and I won't like it as much. But right now, I am loving this record. I am loving it so much. As far as a rating goes, I'm giving this thing a very strong 9.5 out of 10. I don't think it's exactly perfect, but it's so close. It's so close. So close. And I don't know, there's not much else to say. If you like Alice Cooper, go check this record out. If you don't like Alice Cooper, it's probably not changing your mind, honestly. This is a love letter to the fans, and what a great love letter it is. Definitely go get it right now if you're a fan. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this record. Give this video a thumbs up if you even remotely enjoyed my face talking about this record for a while now. And hit the subscribe button as well for more record reviews. Hit the little bell so you actually get the updates. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I will see you guys next video.